Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our Chaitanya Charitāmrita overview class. We'll begin with our prayers. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजना सहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our Chaitanya Charitamrita overview class. We are discussing from the Adi Leela. We are on 5th chapter, the glories of Lord Nityananda Balaram. And in this chapter, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is explaining the first chapter verses, that is from the verse 7 to 11. So Kaviraj Goswami is giving a comprehensive description in detail about the glories of Lord Nityananda. And we discussed so far how Lord Nityananda, he is the source of Sankarshan, who is the source of Mahavishnu, and who is the source of Garbhodakshay Vishnu, who is the source of Shirodakshay Vishnu, and also Ananta Shesha. He is also a sub-part of Lord Nityananda. So after describing all these glories of Lord Nityananda, he describes that Lord Nityananda, even if somebody calls Lord Nityananda as Ananta, there is no fault in that, because Lord is known by different names. One can call Lord Krishna as Vamana, Lord Krishna as Vishnu. And Srila Prabhupada, he writes in one of the purport that one of the disciples, two of the sannyasi disciples, they were having a debate. This Hare Ram in this Hare Krishna mantra, does it mean Lord Ramchandra or Lord Balaram? And Prabhupada writes, the matter came up to me and he gave the decision that both are same, it doesn't matter. There is no difference in Vishnu Tattvas. So then Kaviraj Goswami describes the mood of Lord Chaitanya in serving Lord Nityananda. How Lord Balaram, he becomes everything for Krishna. Similarly, Lord Nityananda, he serves Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in various ways. Kabhi Guru, Kabhu Sakha, Kabhu Bhritya Leela, Purva Yena Tina Bhave Braja Koila Khela. So sometimes Nityanand Prabhu becomes the guru of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, sometimes the friend, sometimes the servant. In this way, he performs so many pastimes, just as he performed in his Vrindavan Leela, in his Braja Leela, when he appeared as Balaram. When Krishna would go with all the cowherd friends to the forest along with Balaram, sometimes Balaram would serve Krishna and sometimes he would take service from Krishna. Sometimes Krishna would massage the feet of Lord Balaram and sometimes Balaram would massage. Vachit Krida Parishrantam Gopot Sangopabarhanam Swayam Vishramayatyaryam Pada Samvahanadibi. So sometimes when Balram would become tired of playing, Krishna would massage the feet of Lord Balaram. So Kaviraj Goswami is quoting so many different instances where Balaramji is playing the role of a guru, a friend, and a servant. Then he tells the pastime of Brahma Vimohan Leela. When Balaramji understands, he starts thinking from where this mystic power is coming. Because no one can bewilder me apart from my Lord's mystic power. He is my master. And then he quotes another verse from, which was spoken by Kauravas when Balaramji went to bring Samba back, because Samba, he forcibly married the daughter of Duryodhan, and they arrested Samba. So Balaramji, when he went, all the Kauravas, they started criticizing Krishna, criticizing Balaram, and Balaramji, he became so angry. He says, what is the use of value of your throne to Lord Krishna? He is the supreme proprietor of entire universe. All the masters of all the planetary systems, they bow their head in front of my Lord. And I am just a portion of the portion of Lord. And I carry the dust of Lord on my head. So that's how Kaviraj Goswami describes the various roles of Balaramji. And then he describes how Lord Chaitanya, he is the only supreme controller. And the very, very famous verse comes. Ekala Ishwara Krishna Arasabha Bhritya Se Taiche na chaye Jaye Taiche na chaye Se Taiche Kore Nritya. Ekale Ishwara Krishna. Krishna is the only supreme controller. And all others, they are the servants. Arasabha Bhritya. And they dance as per the will of the Lord. Yare taiche nachai, yes, taiche kare nritya. So therefore, just like Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are same. Eimat Chaitanya Gosai ekale Ishwar ar sab parishad keha va kinkar. Similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the only controller, and all others, they are either the associates or the servants of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's how Kaviraj Goswami is establishing the supremacy of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu now. And he tells that his elders, Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, and Srivas Acharya, Srivas Thakur, they are all associates of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he performs so many pastimes with them. And Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, he fulfills his desire by performing all these pastimes. So Krishna, when he appears in this world, he performs so many pastimes to fulfill his own desires and to reclaim the fallen conditioned souls. That is the reason for appearance of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also. We discussed in great detail the internal reasons for the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. To experience, to understand the glories of Radharani's love. Shri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima Kidrisho Vanayaiva. To understand the glories of Radharani's love. To understand his own sweetness. To relish his own sweetness. Saukhyam cha syamadhanubhavataha Kidrisho Vamadiya. So what is the bliss which all these my devotees they are experiencing by serving me? What are my qualities? I want to experience that. And he wants to experience the pleasure which Srimati Radharani is experiencing in serving him. So Lord appears to fulfill his own desires and to reclaim the fallen conditioned souls. And in this, Lord Sri Advaita Acharya and Sri Nityananda Prabhu, they are helping him in his pastimes. So because Advaita Acharya and Nityananda Prabhu, they are the plenary parts of the Lord. They are the principal associates. And although Advaitacharya is a senior personality. He's like the preceptor of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepts him as his superior. But still, Advaitacharya, he feels himself to be the servant of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that is the interesting condition. So who is Advaitacharya? The next chapter will describe in great detail the glories of Advaitacharya. Srila Prabhupada gives a glimpse of that. And he tells that Advaitacharya, he was like a father figure. He was actually older than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's father also. He was approximately 50 years older than Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And yet, Sri Advaitacharya, he considered himself always the servant of Lord Sri Chaitanya. So, Advaitacharya and Ishwarpuri. Ishwarpuri is the spiritual master of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Advaitacharya and Ishwarpuri, they both are disciples of Madhavendra Puri. So Advaitacharya is like a, spiritual master. But still, he considers himself as the servant of Lord Sri Chaitanya. That is the glory of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is the glory of Advaitacharya. Who is Advaitacharya? Raj Goswami says, I cannot describe the truth of Advaitacharya because he is the same supreme personality. He has appeared to deliver the entire universe. And that Sri Advaitacharya, he considered himself as a servant of Lord Sri Chaitanya. And what about Nityananda Prabhu? So Kaviraj Goswami writes the name of Lord Nityananda as Nityananda Swarupa. So this Nityananda Swarupa, he was Lakshman and he served Lord Ram. So Srila Prabhupada writes in detail why Kaviraj Goswami is writing the name Swarup, Nityananda Swarup. So as we have discussed earlier also, that in Shankara Sampradaya, there are certain titles given to Brahmachari, assistants of the sannyasis. So Swarupa is one of the Brahmachari title for a person who is assisting the sannyasi. So Prabhupada writes, it seems that Nityananda Prabhu was assisting a Shankara sannyasi because that was the most famous and well-known sampradaya that time. That's why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also took initiation, sannyas, in Bharati Sampradaya. So that's why Nityananda Prabhu's name is mentioned as Nityananda Swarupa. So that Nityananda, he was Lakshman. But when he was serving Lord Ram, he suffered much pain because when he saw Lord Ram is really in such pain, Lord Ram had to undergo all the trials and tribulations of the Vanvas, and he was so very disturbed and pained by that, but he could not do anything. Because he was younger brother. Silently he accepted all the pains which Lord Ram was undergoing, because seeing the pain of Lord Ram, he was getting so much disturbed. That's why in the Ramayana it is described that when Lakshman, he goes to Sumitra to ask permission to go with Lord Ram to forest. She tells, "Oh my son, please don't get absorbed in looking at the beauty of Lord Ram. And don't forget your service, because when you see the beautiful face of Lord Ram, you may get absorbed and you may forget the service. So therefore, your only service is to give pleasure to Lord Ram." And she tells that Ayodhyam Atavim Vidhim Ramam Dasharatham Vidhi Mam Vidhi Janakatmaja Ayodhyam Atavim Vidhi Gachatata Sukham Tataha. So she tells that, "O Lakshman, just accept Lord Ram as Dashrath. Consider Janaki as me and consider this forest as Ayodhya and go and very happily serve Lord Ram. So Lakshman, he wanted to give all the pleasures to Lord Ram, but because of the uh, principles of Lord Ram, he could not do much. And that's why he suffered so much. So now when Krishna, he appeared as, in this world, Lakshman appeared as Balaram. Of course, Balaram, he became Lakshman. So when Balaramji himself came as the elder brother of Krishna, he served Krishna to his heart's content. He gave all the pleasure to Krishna. It was like in a Vatsalya Bhav, always protecting Krishna. So Sri Ram and Sri Lakshman, they are the plenary portions of Krishna and Balaram. So when Krishna and Balaram appeared, Ram and Lakshman, they entered in the bodies of Krishna and Balaram, and they performed all the pastimes. So Srila Prabhupada, he quotes from Laghu Bhagavatamrit, then he quotes from Padma Puran, then he quotes from another scripture called Rama Gita. So in the Laghu Bhagavatamrit, Sanatana Goswami, he describes that Ram, he is an incarnation of Vasudeva feature. Lakshman, he is incarnation of Sankarshan. And Pradyumna, Ram, Lakshman, and Bharata, he is an incarnation of Pradyumna. And Shatrughna, he is incarnation of Aniruddha. In Padma Puran, it is described that Lord Ramchandra is Narayan, and the weapons of Lord Narayan, Shankha, Chakra, and Ananta Shesha. So Ananta Shesha appeared as Lakshman, the Chakra appeared as Bharat, and Shankha appeared as Shatrughna. So these are the various ways, the incarnations are described. And then he says, this Krishna and Balaram, although they appeared as, Krishna appeared as younger brother and Balaram appeared as the elder brother, but we should never get confused. Krishna is the supreme personality and Balaram is the expansion. Ramadimurtishu kalani yamena tishtan nana avatarama karod bhuvaneshu kintu Krishna swayam samabhavat paramapamanyo govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So Kaviraj Goswami quotes this verse from Brahma Samhita to describe that Lord Ram is the plenary portion of Krishna. That Lord Sri Chaitanya is same as Krishna. Sri Chaitanya say Krishna Nityananda Ram Purnananda Purna Kore Chaitanya Rakam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna and Nityananda Prabhu is Balaram. And Nityananda Prabhu acts in every way to fulfill the desires of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's why it comes in the Madhya Leela. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there in Jagannath Puri and all the devotees, they would come every year during Rath Yatra to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they would be with them. They would be with Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for months. And one time when they were departing, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called Nityananda Prabhu, said, Prati Varsha Gaura Tumi, Prati Varsha Nilachale Tumi na Asiba, Gaura Rahibe Mora Ichha Safala Kariba. So he says, O Nityananda Prabhu, every year please don't come to Nilachal. You stay in Jagannath Puri and fulfill my desire. That was the desire, that was the purpose Nityananda Prabhu was fulfilling, because Lord Chaitanya, he was preaching to the classes, and Nityananda Prabhu, he was preaching to the masses. So Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told that what you can do, O Nityananda, I cannot do. So you fulfill my desire, you go and preach to the masses. So Sri Nityananda Prabhu, he fulfills all the desires of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then he says, Nityanand Prabhu's glories are unlimited. Nityananda Mahima Sindhu Ananta Apar Ek Kana Sparshi Matra Se Kripa Tahar. The glories of Nityananda are unlimited. It is an unfathomable, shoreless, bottomless ocean. The glories of Lord Nityananda are unlimited. Ek Kana Sparshi Matra. By the mercy of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, I am just touching a drop of his glories. That's why when Vrindavan Das Thakur, he was writing Chaitanya Mangal, he became absorbed. That later became Chaitanya Bhagavat. He became so absorbed in writing the glories of Lord Nityananda, and the book became so voluminous. Nityananda Lila Varnane Hoila Avesh, Chaitanya Rasesha Lila Rahila Avashesh. That he became little concerned. Array, book has become so big. So he just described the pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in brief. Sai sab lilar shunite vivaran Vrindavanavasi bhaktera utkanthitaman. So Kaviraj Goswami writes that the Brajavasis, they wanted to hear those pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu which were not described by Vrindavan Das Thakur. That's why I am writing this Chaitanya Caritāmrta. So Nityanand Prabhu's glories are unlimited. Ek kana sparshi matra. I am just touching a drop of that nectar by his mercy. Otherwise, who am I? And then he tells, please listen to one another glorious character of Nityananda Prabhu. How he delivered such a fallen conditioned soul. And who was he? He himself. How Kaviraj Goswami is telling about himself, his own story. He says, actually, it is not proper to disclose this. But how can I not disclose it? Because everyone should know the glories of Lord Nityananda. Everyone should know how Lord Nityananda is so very merciful. Ved guhya katha yadi ayogya kahite tathapi kahiye tar kripa prakashite. Ved guhya, even it is more difficult to understand the glories of Lord Nityananda than to understand the Vedas. But still I will write so that people can get a glimpse of what is the glory of Lord Nityananda. And similar thing is about Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kaviraj Goswami tells that actually it is not befitting for me to write the pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But what can I do if I won't write? I will become involved in ungratefulness. कही बार कथा न है कहिले केह ना बुझे ऐछे चित्र चैतन्येर रंगे सही से बुझीते पारे चैतन्येर कृपा यारे होए तार दासानुदास संगे. This is kahi बार कथा न है. It is not good for me to tell this in public, because even if I speak, nobody will understand. कहिले केह ना बुझे Aiche Chitra Chaitanya Range, because the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are so amazing. But still I am speaking. Sahi se bujite pare Chaitanya kripa yare. Who will understand? The person who receives the mercy of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will understand his glories. Without the mercy of the Lord, nobody can understand him. Here Kaviraj Goswami is telling, by the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, I am just touching a drop of that nectar. As Brahmaji prays, Athapi te deva padambuja dvaya prasadalesha nugrihita evahi janati tattvam bhagavan mahino na chanya eko pichiram vichinvan. Unless one gets the mercy of Lord Krishna, prasad lesh anugrihit, a drop of the mercy of Krishna, if somebody receives, he can understand Krishna. So only by the mercy of Krishna, somebody can understand him. Otherwise, it is impossible. So therefore, he says, Then he offers his obeisances to Lord Nityananda Prabhu and he asks forgiveness for his offenses. And then he describes a wonderful story. First, he describes the power of the servants of Lord Nityananda. And then he will describe the power of mercy of Lord Nityananda. Very, very interesting pastime now he's going to describe. So Kaviraj Goswami describes now after all the philosophy, first time some pastime is coming in Chaitanya Caritāmrta. So Kaviraj Goswami says, Nityananda Prabhu, he had a servant, very, very great devotee. He was always absorbed in love of God. His name was Meenaketan Ramadas. And Kaviraj Goswami, when he was staying in his home near Jhamatpur, so Meenaketan Ramadas one time came at his place. And at the home of Kaviraj Goswami, day and night Sankirtan was going on. And Meenaketan Ramadas, he came and he, because he was invited by Kaviraj Goswami. So he came. And as he sat in the courtyard, he was absorbed in the transcendental love for Lord Nityananda. As he would sing, he would have tears flowing out of his eyes. And all the devotees, just by taking darshan of Meenaketan Ramadas, they would experience such ecstatic emotions. And they would offer obeisances. They would fall at the feet of Meenaketan Ramadas. But Meenaketan Ramadas, he was in the mood of a Gopa friend. So sometime in a joyful mood, he would climb on the shoulders of people who are offering obeisances to him. And sometimes he would strike them with his flute gently. Sometimes he would slap them gently. Even after being struck by and slapped by Meenaketan Ramadas, devotees were ecstatic. And they would see the eyes of Meenaketan Ramadas always wet with tears of love. They would start crying. They would experience ecstatic emotions. And in his ecstasy, he had goosebumps, not ordinary like us. It was like Kadamba flower. Shved, Kampa, Romanch, Ashru, Gadgad, Vaivarnya, Unmad, Vishad, Garva, Harsh, Dainya. Eta bhave prema bhakta ganera na chahe. Premera anandashru sagare bhasai. So all these ecstatic emotions, they would appear in the body of Meenaketan Ramadas. Sometimes he would cry, sometimes he would have goosebumps, sometimes he would become stunned. One of his limbs would become stunned, and other limb would be trembling. Sometimes he would not be able to speak. So all these ecstatic emotions were manifesting. And this Meenaketan Ramadas, when he would loudly chant the names of Lord Nityananda, everybody would be so joyful. They would experience the presence of Nityananda Prabhu. So one time, as he was invited at this time, there was one respectable Brahmana named Gunarnava Mishra. So when Meenaketan Ramadas entered the home of Kaviraj Goswami, this Gunarnava Mishra, he was serving the deity of Krishna. So he did not get up to pay obeisances, offer respects to Meenaketan Ramadas. And seeing this, Meenaketan, he became so angry. And he said, here I find second Romaharshan Suta. He is assuming himself to be such a great learned Brahmana and is not getting him to offer respects to Lord Balram. So Meenaketan Ramadas, he was not thinking he is not offering respects to me. He was having this consciousness that I am representative of Lord Balaram. And if somebody doesn't get up to offer respects to me, that means they are not offering respects to Lord Balaram. That is an offense to Lord Balaram. So he became so very angry, he chastised him. And after that, he danced and sang and he took prasad. And this Brahmana, although he didn't become angry, he just continued serving Krishna's deity. Prabhupada writes there that This Meenketan Ramdas, he was such a great devotee of Lord Nityananda. And this Gunarnava Mishra, he didn't get up. That indicated that he had very less respect for Nityananda Prabhu. And that was a wrong behavior. At the end of this festival, one more thing happened. Kaviraj Goswami, he had a brother. He doesn't mention the name of him. So after Ramdas, he uh, offered obeisances, after he gave blessings to everyone and he was departing, he had a controversy with the brother of Krishnadas Kaviraj. And this brother of Kaviraj Goswami, he had very great faith in Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he had not that much respect for Lord Nityananda Prabhu. And that made Meenaketan very angry. And he became so unhappy. He said, he actually in anger, he broke his flute and he went away. So Kaviraj Goswami, before Meenaketan Ramdas went away, he chastised his brother. He said, how can you do this? These two brothers, Nityananda Prabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are one and the same. They are two souls in one body. They are one soul in two bodies. How can you respect one and not other? It is an offense. It is like you are applying a half-hand logic. You are accepting one part, but you are rejecting other part. It is impossible. That is not the right way. So it is very, very important that when we call ourselves Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we should understand that Nityananda Prabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are inseparable. Brajendra Nandana Jai Sachi Shuddha Hoilo Sai Balarama Hoilo Nitai. And in fact, Lord Nityananda is more merciful. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Mahavadanyaya. Nityananda Prabhu is even more merciful. So how much we should pray, how much we should offer respects to Nityananda Prabhu. That is the only hope. That's what Kaviraj Goswami will describe in the next section. How by the mercy of Lord Nityananda, I am getting everything. And we are getting everything. We have received this Krishna consciousness by mercy of Nityananda Prabhu and by the followers of Nityananda Prabhu. Because Nityananda Prabhu is the one who goes and he begs each and every person, please take the name of Lord Sri Chaitanya. Please chant the names of Krishna. Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Koro Krishna Siksha. That is our hope. Right? Because he thinks that if I can give mercy to everyone, if the lowest of the people can get transformed, that is the glory of my master. So therefore, this Nityananda Prabhu, this Meenaketan Ramdas, he became very angry. He broke his flute and he went away. And after that, because of this offense, Kaviraj Goswami says, my brother, he fell down. He could not continue his devotional service. And then he says, now I have described you the power of the servants of Lord Nityananda. Now I will describe you the mercy of Lord Nityananda. How Lord Nityananda is so merciful. That night, Lord Nityananda, he appeared in the dream of Kaviraj Goswami as he was sleeping. Lord Nityananda was very pleased because Kaviraj Goswami chastised his brother. So if somebody doesn't respect devotees and doesn't respect the Supreme Lord, we should be very much intolerant to that. We should immediately respond and react. Otherwise, if we just tolerate, if we are just neutral, if somebody is criticizing Krishna, somebody is criticizing devotees, and we don't do anything, that means we are taking sides of that person. We will be implicated. The blasphemy of devotees should never be heard. We should never hear the criticism of devotees. And if somebody is doing it, We should never tolerate it. And scriptures they describe in great detail. If somebody speaks criticism of Krishna and devotees, the first thing you should do is just go out of that place. Or if you are qualified, if you have that capacity, defeat him in arguments. Or you can cut off the tongue of that person to that extent, and then you should commit suicide. So for us, at least we can leave that place. So because Kaviraj Goswami, he chastised his brother, Nityananda became so very happy. And he says that Kaviraj Goswami writes that I was staying in a village near Jhamatpur, and Lord Nityananda appeared to me in dream. And Prabhupada, he is so very wonderful. He writes, where is this Jhamatpur? One time, one of the devotees, who was translating Bhagavatam into certain language, he was telling that, they hired a professional person to translate Chaitanya Charitāmrta. And when he read some of the purports of Chaitanya Charitāmrita, where Prabhupada is describing, oh, this village is situated here, you take this train, you get down at this station, you walk 50 meters, you will find a tree, you take a left, and then you will reach this place. So this person is saying that, this is not a purport. Purport means you give some philosophical understanding. This is not a purport. So in this purport also, Prabhupada is writing, there is a railway line to Jhamatpur. And if one wants to go there, he can take a train on the Katwa railway line, get down at the station called Salar, and from there directly you can go to Jhamatpur. Why Prabhupada gives all these details in his purports? He wants to prove the authenticity of Chaitanya Charitāmrita, so that nobody can doubt whether such places existed or it is just a story which we are hearing. They are realities. That's why Prabhupada writes all these details. And actually, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he had sent his disciples to all these places where Mahaprabhu had performed his pastimes, and they had gathered all these information. And he writes, because Prabhupada, he writes most of the things from Saraswati Thakur's commentary on Chaitanya Charitāmrita. Saraswati Thakur, he also wanted to establish the authenticity of Chaitanya Charitāmrita. So he had sent all his disciples, and all these disciples, they brought all this information. Prabhupada is writing that. So Kaviraj Goswami says that when I was asleep, Nityananda Prabhu appeared in the dream, and I fell at the feet of Lord Nityananda. And Nityananda, he placed his feet on my head. I was ecstatic. And he said, Nityananda Prabhu said, Oh Kaviraj Goswami, get up. Oh Kaviraj, get up, get up. Utha, utha, bolo bar, bar. Get up, please. So when I got up and I saw the beauty of Lord Nityananda, I was astonished. And Kaviraj Goswami describes the beautiful form of Lord Nityananda. Shyama chikkan kanti prakanda sharir sakshat kandarpo yaiche mahamallavir. He had a glossy complexion. Sakshat prakanda sharir, very huge, tall, heroic features. And he was having all beautifully formed arms, legs, hands. His teeth, they were red like pomegranate seeds because he was chewing betel nut. He was wearing the silken cloth, silken turban on his head, and he had his bracelets, anklets, and he was wearing beautiful mala and necklace in his neck, kanthe pushpa mala, chandana lepita anga tilaka sutham, mat gajjini mad manthara payan. And his whole body was decorated with chandan, and he was walking like a mad elephant. That was the beauty of Lord Nityananda. And his face was more beautiful than the thousands of lotuses. So whenever Lord is described, his beauty is compared to lotus. In the body of Lord Krishna, it is described there are eight bodily parts which are compared to lotus. नेत्र नाभि वदन कर युग चरण एई अष्ट पद्म कृष्ण अंगे कर्पूर लिप्त कमल तारे छे परिमल एई गंध अष्ट पद्म अंगे. So the two eyes, netra, the navel, vadan, face, two hands and two legs. So eight bodily parts are compared with lotus. So Nitya, and from the body of Krishna, a fragrance comes. What is that fragrance? Karpura lipta kamala tara yaiche parimala. It is the fragrance of camphor mixed with lotus. So the beautiful form of Nityanand Prabhu is compared with lotus here. And he was completely absorbed in ecstasy. He was dancing. He was dancing like a mad elephant. And he had a stick in his hand. And all his associates, they were also around him. They were dressed like a cowherd boys. And some were offering tambula. Some had the stick in their hands. And everybody was chanting. Some were doing chamar. Everybody was chanting Krishna, Krishna. Some had flute, some had bugle, horn. That was the beauty of Nityanand Prabhu, which Kaviraj Goswami experienced. Nityananda Swarupera Dekhiya Vaibhav Leela Kiba Rupa Guna Leela Alaukik Sab. We should never understand the pastimes of Lord Nityananda are material. They are all transcendent. Kiba Rupa Guna Leela. The form of the Lord, the pastimes of the Lord, the qualities of the Lord, they are all transcendental. Whatever activities Nityananda Prabhu performs, there is no tinge of any material thing in that. No material contamination. No modes of nature affect the pastimes of Lord Nityananda. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells, even if Nityananda Prabhu enters a liquor bar, please don't doubt his activities. Yadi mora Nityananda Surabadi jaye, Surabadi means liquor bar. Tabe hi to mora Nityananda rahe. Still he is my Nityananda. So nobody should doubt the pastimes of Lord Nityananda, because many times Nityananda Prabhu's pastimes look very bewildering. But still one should never doubt the pastimes of Lord Nityananda, because they are all transcendental. So when Kaviraj Goswami, he saw this beautiful form, he was completely overwhelmed, he was ecstatic. Then Nityananda Prabhu smiled at him and he spoke to him that, "Oh Kaviraj Goswami, oh Kaviraj, oh Krishnadas, please don't be afraid. Are are Krishnadas na karah bhay, Vrindavan yah taha sarva labhya hoy." Oh Krishnadas, please don't be afraid. Go to Vrindavan. All your desires will be fulfilled in Vrindavan. Vrindavan jah taha sarva labhya hoy. All your desires will be fulfilled. And with his hand, he directed towards the Vrindavan and he waved his hand, go to this direction. And then immediately he disappeared. And after Nityananda disappeared, Kaviraj Goswami, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami fainted. In the dream, he fainted. And as he fainted, his dream broke. He got up and he saw that it was morning time. He remembered the words of Nityananda Prabhu. Immediately, he started thinking, what did I see? What did I hear? What should I do now? Ki dekhinu ki shuninu koriya bichar, Prabhu agya aila Vrindavan yaibar. I was thinking what to do now. So immediately I came to the conclusion and I started off for Vrindavan. Very second I started off Vrindavan without thinking a moment. I was not thinking maybe it is a dream, And I don't know if Nityananda Prabhu really came. Maybe it was something coming from my mind. No, he had intense faith. That is what a devotee experiences when his heart is purified. One time, a person, a devotee, he came to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, last night I saw you in the dream. You came in my dream and you are telling me it's okay even if you drink. So Prabhupada said, no, that was not me. That was Maya coming in my disguise. But pure devotees, they never get bewildered. They never have any doubt that is it Krishna or is it something else, because their mind is completely pure. That is the power of practicing Krishna consciousness. That's what Brahmaji tells. That because I have caught hold of the lotus feet of the Lord with great zeal, my words, they never prove false. My mind never deters from its path. My senses, they don't go towards sense gratification. न भारती में अंगमृषोपलक्ष्यते न वै क्वचिन्मे मनसो मृषागति न मे ऋषिकाणि पतन्त्य सत्पथे यन्मे हृदौत्कण्ठ्यवता धृतो हरि. So Kaviraj Goswami had no doubt because he was such an advanced great devotee, pure devotee. He walked off, he started off for Vrindavan. And then Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami is expressing his deep, genuine humility in this section. And he's so very grateful to Lord Nityananda Balaram. He's telling whatever I have achieved, it is by the mercy of Lord Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Nityananda Nityananda Ram Yahara Kripaite Painon Vrindavan Dham. By the mercy of Lord Nityananda, I got Vrindavan Dham. Otherwise, who was I? How could I have received this Vrindavan Dham? Jaya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Kripamay Yaha Haite Painu Rupa Sanatana Shray. By the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, I received the shelter of Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami. Otherwise, how would I have come to Vrindavan? By the mercy of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, I received the mercy of Raghunath Das Goswami. Yaha Haite Painu Raghunath Ashray. Yaha Haite Painu Shri Swarupa Ashray. So he is giving all the credits to Nityananda Balaram. Prabhupada writes a very interesting purport there. He writes that anyone desiring to get the mercy of Radha and Krishna, they should follow in the footsteps of Kaviraj Goswami. And they should always aspire to work under the guidance of Shad Goswamis, Swarup Damodar Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Rupa Goswami. If we are whimsical in our attempts, then we can never achieve mercy of Krishna. Only by the mercy of the devotees one can achieve Krishna. So Prabhupada writes that if you want to come under the mercy of Goswamis, even to attain the mercy of the devotees, you need the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. Only by mercy of Nityananda Prabhu one can achieve the shelter of Goswamis. That is the glory of Nityananda Prabhu. Without Nityananda Prabhu, one cannot get even mercy of devotees. Sanatana Kripaye Painu Bhakti Rasa Siddhanta Shri Rupa Kripaye Painu Bhakti Rasa Pranta. Because Nityananda Prabhu sent me to Vrindavan, I received the association of Rupa Sanatan. And by their mercy, Sanatan Kripaye Painu Bhakti Rasa Siddhanta, I understood the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. By the mercy of Sanatan Goswami, by the mercy of Rupa Goswami, I understood the Bhakti Rasa. Therefore, we are called as Rupanugas. We are followers of Rupa Goswami because Rupa Goswami, he has written such wonderful philosophy, such wonderful books, Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. And in that, he has described the pinnacle of rasas. Rupa Sanatana Goswami entered Vrindavan 1515 and Rupa Goswami published this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in 1534. After so many years of bhajan, all his uh, realizations he's pouring down in this book, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So Kaviraj Goswami is saying, by his mercy, I understood Bhakti Rasa Pranta. Pranta means the ultimate conclusions of Bhakti Rasa. Krishna Tattva, Bhakti Tattva, Rasa Tattva Sar, Bhava Tattva, Prema Tattva, Leela Tattva are. So all these tattvas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu described to Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami. That's why Rupa Goswami is also called as Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale. He has understood the heart of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, Kaviraj Goswami is offering gratitude to Rupa Goswami. Sanatana Goswami, who has written Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Prabhupada writes in this purport, very important. He says, if somebody wants to know about the subject matter of devotion, about devotional service, about devotees and Krishna, they must read this Laghu Bhagavatamrita. It is a journey of a devotee and it has two parts. Laghu Bhagavatamrita, one part describes the search of Narad Muni for the greatest of the devotee. Other part describes the journey of Gop Kumar, journey of living entity back to the spiritual world. So all the concepts of devotional service, devotee and Krishna, they are described there. Sanatana Goswami has also written Hari Bhakti Vilas, so many other books he has written. So Rupa Goswami Prabhupada writes, he is Bhakti Ras Acharya. He is an Acharya of Bhakti Rasa. Jaya Jaya Nityananda Charanara Binda Yaha Haite Painu Sri Radha Govinda. By the mercy of Nityananda, I achieved the lotus feet of Sri Radha Govinda. Sanatana Kripai Painu Bhaktira Siddhanta, Shri Rupa Kripai Painu Bhaktira Sapranta, and by Nityananda Prabhu's mercy, I achieved the feet of Radha Govinda. And then he is expressing his utter humility, which is unimaginable. So, who is Kaviraj Goswami? He is the author of Chaitanya Charitāmrta, the PhD literature of Krishna consciousness. Bhagavad Gita is like a graduate study, Bhagavatam postgraduate, and Chaitanya Charitāmrta is PhD study. And the author, what must be his caliber? The person who is writing this PhD thesis, what must be his caliber? But just see the humility of Chaitanya Kaviraj Goswami. Jagai madhai hoite mui se papishta, puri shera kit hoite mui se laghishta. I am more sinful than Jagai and Madhai, more sinful than a worm in the stool. It is so very disgusting to even think of those things. Kaviraj Goswami is actually meaning it. He is not just speaking just to show that I am such a humble devotee. No, he actually means it. He says, anyone who hears my name, they will lose all their pious credits. Anyone who sees my face, they become sinful. That is the mood of Kaviraj Goswami. Utter humility. Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi saishnana. And he says, there is no hope for me other than the mercy of Lord Nityananda. I am so fallen. Without the mercy of Lord Nityananda, there was no hope for me. There was no hope for me if Nityananda Prabhu would not have been. Because who is Nityananda? Prema Matta Nityananda Kripa Avatar Uttama Adhama Kichu Nakare Vichar Prema Matta Nityananda. Nityananda Prabhu is mad in ecstasy of love of God. Kripa Avatar, he is the incarnation of mercy. So he is not considering he is qualified, this person is qualified, he is not qualified. Uttama Adhama Kichu Nakare Vichar. That is my hope. So he is the one who can deliver the most fallen. And he is the one who has delivered such a sinful, fallen person like me. Who is writing this? The professor, the author of the PhD literature. So this mood of humility is the crux of devotional service. That is what attracts the mercy of Krishna. That's why Rup Sanatana Goswami, when they surrendered to Nityananda Prabhu, they also express their same humility. They also say the same thing. Jagai madhai hoite koti koti gun adham patit papi ami duijan. Or Jagai Madhai had many good qualities. We are the most sinful. We are the only sinful people in the world. So seeing the humility of Rup Sanatan, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he becomes really uh, surprised and touched. Aji se duhar naam Rup Sanatan, dainya chhad, dainya tumar fate moraman. Please give up your humility. Your humility is breaking my heart. So he says, Kaviraj Goswami says, although I am so fallen, Nityananda Prabhu has given me the lotus feet of Sri Rupa Goswami. Again he tells, I am not actually qualified to speak all this confidential subject matter. But still I am speaking so that people may understand the mercy and the greatness of Nityananda Prabhu. Because by his mercy, I achieved the lotus feet of Radha Govinda. I achieved the lotus feet of Madan Gopal, Madan Mohan. Who is that Madan Mohan? The son of Brajendra Nandana, the son of Nanda Maharaj, who danced with all the gopis in his Rasa Leela. He enjoyed with all the gopis. He's the Sakshan Manmatha. He can attract even Cupid. And when Krishna appeared in the Rasa Leela in front of the gopis, after he disappeared for some time and then he again appeared, Tasamavirbhu Shauri Sakshan Manmatha Pītāmbara Sragvi Smayana Tasamavirbhu Shauri Smayamana Mukhambhujam Pītāmbara Sragvi Sakshan Manmatha Avirbhut Shauri. And Shauri means Krishna, when he appeared, Smayamana Mukhambhujam, with beautiful smile on his face, wearing a golden Pītāmbara Dhara, golden dhoti, having a peacock feather on his head, decorated with a beautiful flower garland. He was attracting even the Cupid. And that Krishna is performing pastimes with Radharani, with Lalita Devi and all the other gopis. And by these pastimes, he is attracting the entire world. I could see all that by the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. By the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, I received Radha Govinda. I achieved the mercy of Radha Gopal. I am so fallen. He granted me the sight of Lord Govinda. I cannot describe the glories of Lord Nityananda. And then Kaviraj Goswami describes, who is this Radha Govinda? He describes the glories of Lord Govinda. Vrindavane Yoga Pithe Kalpataru Vane Ratna Mandapatahe Ratna Simhasan. In Vrindavan, on the altar made up of gems, Lord Govinda is sitting with all his associates, headed by Srimati Radharani. And he's manifesting his beauty for all the world to witness. On his left side is Srimati Radharani, on his right is Lalita Devi. And all the other gopis are serving Krishna. Brahmaji, who is sitting on the lotus, he is meditating on this form of Radha Govinda by chanting this 18-syllable mantra. What is this 18-syllable mantra? That is the Gayatri mantra. And Prabhupada writes, what is that? Klim Krishnaya Govindaya Gopi Janvallabhaya Swaha. That is one of the Gayatri mantras which the Brahmanas chant. That is a Gopal Gayatri mantra. So Brahmaji was chanting this mantra and he got the darshan of Radha Govinda. And Prabhupada writes, Brahmaji was, see, whenever Prabhupada gets a chance, he never misses that chance. He tells, Brahmaji was meditating, but in Kali Yuga, all this meditation is of, it is not possible. The easiest process is to chant the holy names of the Lord. So we in Krishna consciousness movement, we do both. We chant loudly this Hare Krishna mantra and we chant softly this Gayatri mantra. And Kaviraj Goswami continues that everyone in the 14 worlds, they meditate on Radha Govinda. I could understand all this by the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, by the mercy of Lord Nityananda. That Supreme Radha Govinda, even Lakshmi Devi is attracted to his characteristics, his pastimes. She wanted to enter into the pastimes and she is doing tapasya. She did tapasya for many years in Belavan. And she prayed to Krishna, Krishna, please allow me to enter into your pastimes of Raslila. Krishna says no. It is quite impossible. So then Lakshmi Devi said, okay, let me become a mark on your chest. And she is reciting as Srivatsa on the chest of Radha Govinda. And by the mercy of Nityanand Prabhu, I got this mercy to stay in Vrindavan, to receive the mercy of Radha Govinda, which was not even achieved by Lakshmi Devi. I am seeing all these pastimes by his mercy. So that is the glory of Lord Nityananda. We'll stop here. We'll continue next time. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Shri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So anybody has any questions? The way to memorize verses to keep on reciting. Memorize and keep reciting. That is the only way to memorize verses. So, anyways, even if we can't memorize, Krishna is not attracted by the way we recite verses. Krishna is attracted by our devotion. That doesn't matter. But of course, it is a good way to absorb our mind. Any other questions anybody has? Okay, so we'll stop here.